Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. It is that time of the week again where we're predicting the upcoming round of fixtures in the Premier League. This weekend is throwing up some big and interesting encounters as the Premier League plays out another round of fixtures yet again. Another game week is upon us, and of course there is one major fixture this weekend that of course has caught everybody's eye, a massive derby that has thrown up a lot of interesting games in the past. It is historically a very good game to keep your eye on, so we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to talk about every other Premier League game, but before we do, of course, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe for new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get back to talking about the upcoming weekend of Premier League fixtures and also giving out some predictions as well. We're kicking things off with the Friday night game. Yes, there is a Friday night game this week, so fantasy football managers, get your captains ready, get your teams ready, as on Friday night, Newcastle host Leeds United at St James's Park. Both sides coming to this one off the back of defeats, of course, from last week. Newcastle lost to Manchester United, whilst Leeds lost to Liverpool last time out. Interesting game ahead, not being the best of starts to the season that both sides would have wanted. But both sides will weirdly be fancying their chances here of picking up their first win of the season. Leeds will look to attack and be on the front foot for most of the game, you'd imagine, whilst Newcastle will be looking to hit them on the counter-attack, particularly using the pace of one Alan Saint-Maximin. I'm going to back Leeds though here. I'm going to back Leeds to actually win this game and pick up their first win of the season. I'm going to back Marcelo Bielsa's side to pick up the 3 points here. And I'm going to predict a 3-1 scoreline in favour of Leeds United. Next, we move on to Saturday's lunchtime fixture as Wolves host Brentford at Molineux. Wolves finally picked up their first win of the season last time out, beating Watford 2-0 on the day, whilst Brentford suffered their first loss as a Premier League side, losing very late on against Brighton in a 1-0 defeat. Difficult game to call this one. Wolves are showing some good stuff this season, but have failed to score as many goals as they probably deserve from their overall play, whilst Brentford have been interesting to watch, starting the season pretty well despite obviously their last game, which ended in defeat. Any result wouldn't shock me here. I'm not going to be surprised at any which way the result goes, but I am going to state that in my prediction, I'm predicting a draw here. I'm going to go for the game to finish 1-1. Sean Dyche takes on Mikel Arteta as Burnley face Arsenal at Turf Moor. Burnley were beaten by Everton in their last game as the Clarets lost 3-1 on Monday night to the Toffees as they still are in search of their first win of the season, whilst Arsenal achieved their first victory of the new season with a 1-0 win over Norwich last time out. Burnley always proved to be a tough side for Arsenal these days to overcome. I mean, yes, these days a lot of teams, the majority of teams, prove to be tricky for the Gunners to navigate past. But Burnley's physicality and their set pieces are often proved to be the particular Achilles heel, shall we say, for the Gunners. And that's where I see Burnley hurting Arsenal the most in this particular game, especially from set pieces. Despite that though, in saying that though, whichever way the result goes, wouldn't be a major shock to me. Arsenal could win, Burnley could win, could even be a draw. But Arsenal do need to make it back-to-back wins here for themselves. This is a big game for them. I mean, you don't need me to say that. You obviously know that this is going to be a massive game for Arsenal to overcome. However, as much as I'd like to say that Arsenal will edge the game and will win, I personally see it being a draw. I'm going to go for another 1-1 draw here. Next up, Anfield is the host of our next game of focus as Liverpool take on Crystal Palace. Both sides come into this game off the back of victories, of course, with Liverpool beating Leeds 3-0 last weekend and also going on to be in Champions League action midweek in which they beat AC Milan 3-2. And Palace obviously won by the same Premier League scoreline of 3-0 when they played against Tottenham last Saturday. Big game, this one. May not be as predictable as what many people think. I imagine that many people are predicting Liverpool to win this game, but Palace have proven in the past that they are a tough side to beat. And of course, their result last time out against Tottenham proved that they are not a team to be taken lightly. Of course, they are under a new regime under Patrick Vieira, and they may be looking to exploit some possible tiredness within the Liverpool ranks, particularly with them having played in Champions League action midweek. So it's possible that this might be a bit of a banana skin fixture for Jurgen Klopp's side. Nevertheless, I always back my team. I always think they have a plan to beat anyone, and Palace will of course be no exception. I'm backing the Reds here to win at Anfield yet again, and I'm going to predict a 2-0 scoreline in favour of Liverpool, with Mohamed Salah getting on the score sheet. Next up, Manchester City clash with Southampton at the Etihad Stadium on Saturday afternoon. City come into this game on the back of a 3 Premier League game winning streak in which they've scored 11 goals and conceded none following last week's 1-0 victory against Leicester. They're also coming into this game off the back of a 6-3 victory over RB Leipzig in the Champions League midweek, while Southampton enjoyed a very exciting goalless draw with West Ham last time out. Southampton have proven to be a bit more difficult to beat than what many people possibly predicted, including myself, but they're not winning games either, which is why they've drawn 3 of their last 4 games that they've played. If they turn up here and play as they did against Manchester United, then maybe they'll have every chance of getting some kind of positive result here, draw, maybe even snatch a win. I don't know, I don't really buy that, but nothing is impossible, and as we've seen time and time again, this is not a game that should be taken lightly. Many people are possibly predicting this one to be the outcome of Manchester City, one of the possibly more easier games to call, and I am going to go along with that, but I will say don't count your chickens yet, because this could be a potential banana skin for City. But in saying that, I am going to predict a pretty convincing 3-0 win for City, all being said. Next up, a big clash between last season's top 2 in the Championship plays out at Carrow Road as Norwich host Watford. Norwich are still looking for their first points, let alone their first victory of the season, whilst Watford are on a 3-game losing streak. This is already a big game for both sides. Norwich have to win this game. They've had a very tricky and tough start to the season, admittedly, but this is a game with a team that many are predicting to be finishing near them. These two are obviously, of course, relegation candidates, and strong ones at that for this season. And it's time that both sides got some more points on the board, particularly Norwich, who, like I say, haven't even got a single point on the board this season. So it's a massive game for them. This is the perfect fixture for that to happen for the Canaries. However, in saying that, my prediction is going to be a draw. Either side could easily take the 3 points here, and that wouldn't surprise me. This is essentially, with all due respect, a Championship game masquerading as a Premier League game. But in saying that, like I say, I'm going to predict a draw. I'm going for a 2-2 draw. Next, we're at Villa Park as Aston Villa play host to Everton in Saturday's evening fixture. Villa were beaten 3-0 by Chelsea last time out, whilst Everton are still unbeaten under new manager Rafael Benitez, with their last result being, of course, that 3-1 victory against Burnley. This should be an interesting game ahead. Two sides with two very different approaches. Villa possess some good attacking players with obviously talent and flair to go along with that, but are taking a little bit of extra time to just gel in together and become a solid unit, whilst Benitez likes a more defensive approach and is obviously getting some good performances out of some players that many would have said were his more mediocre players going into the season. The likes of Demarai Gray, for example, instantly spring to mind. It's a difficult game to call, admittedly, like many this weekend, and, you know, I can see the result going any which way. I'm more leaning towards a draw, though. I can see both sides probably snatching it for the 3 points. I can definitely see Everton doing it in a sort of counter-attacking style. But I am going to call it down the middle. I am going to say a draw. I'm going to say a 2-2 draw, but honestly, This one is not my most confident prediction this weekend. Now we move on to Sunday's fixtures, and first up is Brighton against Leicester. Brighton have enjoyed a very good start to the season, picking up 9 points from a possible 12, whilst Leicester's start to the season has been pretty mediocre, picking up 6 points, with that, of course, 1-0 loss to Manchester City, playing out last time they were in Premier League action. Interesting game ahead between two sides who like to play positive attacking football. Two decent footballing sides clash at the Amex Stadium. Could make for an intriguing game ahead, but again, it's not an easy game to predict. But, of course, I have to choose something. So, I'm going to call it down the middle again. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. But again, it wouldn't surprise me whichever way this result goes. David Moyes faces an old club in Manchester United at the London Stadium as West Ham host Manchester United. The Hammers drew 0-0 with Southampton last time out and of course been in Europa League action since then, whilst United beat Newcastle last weekend but endured a very shock defeat in the Champions League to Swiss side Young Boys on Tuesday night. Both sides come into this game following European football commitments midweek. Will that have an effect on either side? We'll wait and see. We know that the Hammers will obviously suffer a big miss and a big loss with the suspended Michail Antonio not available for selection. And they'll of course be coming up against a Man United side with a seemingly informed Cristiano Ronaldo, who's definitely hit the ground running in his opening 2 games back, being in a Manchester United shirt. So he's certainly hit the ground running there. A draw, honestly, wouldn't surprise me, but I am going to say that United go on and win this game. Manchester United, that is. And I'm going to predict a 2-1 victory for the Red Devils. And finally, it's the game that is arguably the main event of this weekend. The final game of the weekend, taking place Sunday evening. It is the biggest game of this round of fixtures. We have a London derby on our hands, a fierce rivalry, and a game which historically has always been an interesting watch ahead. It is, of course, Tottenham versus Chelsea at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham suffered their first defeat of the season last week when they lost 3-0 at the hands of Crystal Palace, whilst Chelsea continued their unbeaten start to the season with a 3-0 win over Aston Villa. Spurs were very poor last time out, but this is a derby, so I get to throw in the cliche of form goes out the window in these games. However, in saying that, the form of Chelsea looks very good right now. They are very strong right now. They are, of course, unbeaten this season, and Romelu Lukaku is on fire. And with Tottenham's defensive issues and their absentees and everything that goes along with that, he may be really fancying his chances of getting on the score sheet once again this weekend. With that all being said, I am going to be backing Chelsea here to win this game and maintain their unbeaten start to the season, which is why I'm going to predict a 3-1 victory in favour of the Blues. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all the games that are being played across this upcoming game week 5 of the new season? I'd love to know your thoughts, your comments, your opinions, and most of all, your predictions down below in the comments section on all the games that are coming up this weekend, because I'm sure they'll all make for interesting reading. Also, comment on fantasy football tips as well. If you've got any kind of fantasy football tips as well, that'd be interesting to get your views on who you think may actually have a decent game week this week. Any surprising names, any of the usual suspect names that many people throw into their teams. I'd love to know that as well. Might make for even more interesting reading down below in the comments section. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Premier League preview show, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video.